Hello there, and thank you for joining us at the previously said same bat time, same bat channel from last week's episode. And welcome to another episode that probably will not have as much Batman content, which is a sad thing, but we do have more superhero fun for you episode of The Time Machine. Hello, Trish.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
I am good. I am, dare I say, super.
Oh, that's a good adjective for today.
Yeah. We call that foreshadowing. But no, I'm good. We're in the middle of January already, as hard as that may be to believe. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It just seems like Christmas was a week ago.
I know, right? It's hard to. I am excited because I need more sunshine in my day. So every day, we get going. I get what is it in Alberta? You get 4 minutes more of sunshine.
Oh, is that how it works? Because it's like every day that goes by in January, the window for like cold weather closes here, and it was like back at New Year's, we were still in like the mid 80s. Like it wasn't, and we cooled down a little bit after then, but it was just like kind of that week between Christmas and New Year's, it was kind of warm here. Like it wasn't humid, which was nice, but it could still be 85, but there's a breeze, so it's pleasant. I'm like, why can't we get this in the summer? Whatever.
I don't know.
Meanwhile,
Alberta, Edmonton is just like at the whims of the polar vortexes. So whatever happens. Sometimes it can be nice. Like we had -4 a couple of days ago.
And your internet can also be like the polar vortex, and you can come and go.
Are we back?
We're back. Yes.
When did I drop out?
You dropped out talking about polar vortexes, and I said that pretty much was how your internet can go sometimes. And you were saying how a couple weeks ago it was like 4 below.
Yeah,
and I know
-4, and then we could go sledding, which is like, but -4 is like, I don't know, like 28 for you guys? Because 30 0?
32 is 0 for 32 Fahrenheit is 0 for you, which again, Celsius makes sense. 0 freezing point. That's logical to me. Why 32 degrees Fahrenheit just makes no sense. But
then overnight it can be -33 again. So a lot of people actually suffer from a lot of migraines and nosebleeds and things like that in Alberta because of our crazy swings and pressure and temperature.
That makes sense. I can see where that becomes.
Well, it is cool, but
it's cold is what that is.
Yeah.
Well, something that was not cold was the one movie for the week of January 13th, 2002. Trish, I will let you take this one. This is the beginning of one of your favorite movie franchises.
Yeah. It's going to be The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings. It's going to be the top movie for 4 weeks.
Yes, this was the end of its run as the #1 movie at the box office. This was the first of the 3 Lord of the Rings movies and would wind up grossing over $880 million worldwide.
And then by the end of it all, like with The Return of the King, of course, they picked up a few Oscars here and there, but like really at the end of the franchise is when they kind of swept the Oscars with, I think, didn't they get like 12 out of 14 Oscars?
It was something ridiculous like that. Yeah. The girl I was dating at the time was a big Lord of the Rings fan, so
it's right, because it is not your favorite
franchise. Yes, as we learned last season on the show, it's but I was the good boyfriend and I took her to see it. But yes, no, that movie cleaned house at the Oscars that year. I remember that. She was quite happy.
Oh, I just thought this movie was so brilliantly done. Like even just the forethought of, like, Peter Jackson always says, like, Frodo and Sam are always moving left to right on the screen, right? Just to indicate that travel that they're doing. So there's like little things like that. And then I think, Sean Astin wore his, because people were wondering why his Leaf of Lothlorien, the pin, Leaf of Lothlorien, goes in the wrong direction. And they're like, is it because like Sam's left hand and right hand? Like they were trying to come up with all these things, and really just Sean Astin wore it backwards one day. And then they're like, that's what you got to do now, because we got to have continuity.
Yeah, no, I like that. That at least makes sense. It's just, I guess I've seen the movies. In recent times, I've been wanting to go back and at least rewatch the first one to see if now maybe I get a different appreciation for them and see if I can get into them. Because I mean, there are people I know, and for all I know, you might even be one of them, that literally rewatch these movies every year. I know some people rewatch them like between Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever, and so there are some people that watch them in one day, which I don't.
I did do that once. I watched all the extended back to back in one day, and it was amazing. But it's very hard on your, you got to plan, and it takes the whole day. And,
literally, because I mean, the extended versions are probably about 3 hours each at least. Well, the third movie is legitimately 4. Like 3.5 hours. The extended is probably 4 hours.
Yeah. So I just gotta, and you're just taking in a lot of Lord of the Rings, so got to be ready for that. But the proper, I think what you have to do is get the extended version, but watch the behind the scenes stuff, because then you can really appreciate the work that went into the modeling, because they did so many practical effects and so much small scale modeling for the close up.
Oh yeah, I could definitely appreciate that sort of stuff, and I like that they filmed the 3 movies together
simultaneously. Yeah,
right. I think that's a good way of doing that, and if you get good continuity from doing that. It just, everything's fresh. It's like, okay, we filmed this movie 2 years ago. How do we do this, that, whatever? It's like you're there in the moment. Oh yeah, we just filmed that a couple months ago. I remember, let's do this part, or this ties into that. And
I think though that's where The Hobbit really failed, was the lack of practical effects. They did so much like CG and green screen, and I get that it helps with overall costs, obviously, but
sure,
you lose some of that movie magic that
Lord of the totally agree. It's like, I love the show on Netflix, The Movies That Made Us. It's a whole.
Oh yeah, I love that show.
I love that show. It's so good because you learn so much about movies like Home Alone, how they filmed that. Most of that movie is filmed at a school. Right. And like the scene at the end of the first movie where the flood in the basement, they filmed that in the swimming pool of the school. Like, they did this stuff for real, It's just but with computers and everything, movies look a lot different, but to me there's a little bit of that old school practical charm that is lost.
I agree.
That's kind of how it's like Ghostbusters. We both love Ghostbusters. You go back and you watch the 84 original, and it's like, okay, yeah, these effects are kind of cheesy. You could tell these are kind of fake. And then you see the new one that just came out last year, which I think as of this recording you still haven't seen, so I won't spoil anything. But you could tell from the trailer.
The trailer alone looks great.
Right. You can tell it visually. It looks a little bit better, but be that as it may. Yeah. So after you've listened to or watched, 12 hours worth of movies, you need to get up and move. You need to get up and exercise and just, feel some life. And a good way to do that is to dance to the number one song on January 14th, 2004, Outkast's Hey Ya.
Which is such a good song. Even it still
bangs. I mean, it's still
it still bangs. Yeah. It goes on the radio and you can't help but just enjoy it, dance around, feel the positivity in that song.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it still sounds current.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like if you go listen to Footloose, okay, and I like the song Footloose. I like the movie. Yeah. Okay, but
it doesn't feel current.
It has an 80s sound to it. You know what I mean? Or like Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody. It has a 90s sound to it. You listen to Hey Ya, it's like that song's now 18 years old, and you could tell me it came out 18 months ago, because not only do I refuse to believe that it was 18 years ago, but it also just legitimately sounds like a song that could have came out 18 months ago.
Yeah. And when it came out, it was so different from Outkast's other work.
Yeah, like Miss Jackson and some of their other hits. Are they still? I should have looked this up before we did this.
If they're still touring?
Are they? Let's look them up.
Exactly. COVID.
Yeah.
But that was like this with that album too. They each did kind of they took turns being in charge of each song, didn't they?
Yeah, they are not currently still around. They wrapped up in 2007, and they had a brief return back in 2014. They got together and did some gigs to celebrate their 20th anniversary as a group.
That was,
And that is it really for them.
and I remember my uncle Kevin. This was like one of his favorite songs, which to me was so weird because I was, in high school. Or no, well, I wasn't in high school. I had graduated in 2003. So I was in first year university. And having my uncle listening to like the same music as me was just, he's like, I just love this song. And he loved it for, like you said, 18 years later, people are still loving this song. So.
Yeah, like if you go to a wedding or something, you're probably going to hear this song. Like it's one of those party song staples, if you will.
And there's actually some really good covers. Like if you want to go to a wedding and have like a slow version of the song, I have your back. There's a really excellent cover that is a slow, kind of more romantic-y feel of the song, if you will.
See, now I need like Boys II Men to do a version of this. Like, hey, yeah. Like I could just picture them doing like some slow jam, like I'll make love to you type version of the song.
That'd be good. Yeah, hard to believe 18 years. Holy moly, I feel old.
Yeah. Well, speaking of questionable song lyrics, on January 15th, 1967, the Rolling Stones appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, and they did not sing the lyric as they were supposed to sing. Yeah. So
I was actually, when I read this, remember I was confused because I'm like, they did not sing the lyric as they didn't sing the song as they were going to sing. I'm like, what did they do then? And Mike had to clue me into the question of the lyric. Innocent little Trish that I am.
Yes.
Didn't know.
Trish, the good little girl. So the Rolling Stones have a song called Let's Spend the Night Together. And the network wanted them to sing different lyrics. They were going to sing Let's Spend Some Time Together. This is 1967. Things are not, things are more... I'm trying to think of the right.
It's like you had to be modest.
Yes, you couldn't quite, things were more conservative, I guess would be a good way to phrase that. Ed Sullivan, as we discussed last year with Elvis, shooting from the waist up, the hips thing, but that's since proven not to be true. You could see his hips wiggling all over the place. But yeah, and then.
Scandalous. And then we were saying, all these people that were so horrified by that lyric, and now it's like,
well, yeah, then you have songs like WAP. Like, hello, how did WAP become a thing on the radio?
Yeah, or
in 50 years, that's where we went.
Well, and we had what was it? We were discussing how with the Super Bowl, and we had the Janet Jackson the wardrobe scandal. Yeah, and even that's a big deal. People were really upset by it, but it's like, okay, we went from let's spend the night together lyric to like
full nipple right on network TV. That was, I don't know if it still holds the record. It might, because I don't think there's a way to measure this, but wasn't it like the most TiVo'd moment ever or something? I think so. As people were rewinding their TiVos back when TiVo was a thing, or PVR or DVR or whatever you want to call them nowadays. As people went back to look at it. Funny fact, on January 15th, that was actually also the date the first primetime Super Bowl broadcast. Cowboys 27, Broncos 10, which I feel confident in saying will not be a Super Bowl matchup you will get this year. But, all right. Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Well, from Super Bowl to Superman, January 16th, 1939, the Superman newspaper comic strip debuted. Now, I said comic strip, not comic book. Now, I know there are people listening to this that are screaming. They're like, you idiot. Action Comics #1 was June 1938, and it came out on April 18th, 1938. You're an idiot. Why are you saying Superman came out in 39? We know that.
Calm down. We're talking the news.
Yes, there was a Superman comic strip that would run in the newspaper, and there were two versions. You had a Sunday edition and you had a weekday edition, which, this is something I have got to thinking about a couple of months ago. How, are comic strips even a thing anymore? Because nobody reads newspaper. Right, they're still in the newspaper. especially on Sundays, but nobody gets newspapers anymore.
I used to remember like dying waiting for my dad to be finished the Saturday morning paper so that you could get the colored comics.
Yeah, I remember reading them as a kid, before I'd go to school or on the weekends or whatever. Sunday was great because you didn't just get a back page of a section, you would get a whole, 4, 6 page, 8 page spread. Yeah. And there'd be, crossword puzzles or word searches or mazes or something. Like it was a whole thing to do.
Yeah. It's not the same.
I mean,
These guys growing up, they don't know.
Yeah. Well, like, have your girls ever read a comic strip?
Not a comic strip. Like, I mean, they have their graphic novels and they have comic books, but
right,
no,
but
never.
I mean, like, have they got like an Edmonton Times and flipped through and saw Dennis the Menace or Peanuts or Calvin and Hobbes or something?
No, although it's funny, I should show them Calvin and Hobbes, but yeah, like their grandpa gets the news, like we get the Edmonton Journal. So like they've seen the paper come and they've seen people enjoy the newspaper, but they've never actually gone looking for the comic strip. But yeah, I should show them because they'd probably think it's really cute they have a little half brother named Calvin. So we make a lot of references in their house.
Yeah, just don't get like the Calvin peeing on things. I mean, remember when that became a thing?
Still stickers in Edmonton. People have them on their trucks.
I still will see some occasionally. And I go, hello, 1997 called. They said you need to get a new decal or decal.
Or decal.
That's a deep cut for those that have been with us for a while. The decal debate. The decal decal debacle, whatever you want to call it.
I know. And then, of course, I assume whatever you say. So then, I'll start referencing it as the opposite of what my Canadian brethren call it. It's very confusing for me.
Well, it's just because I finally convinced you to say decal.
I have too many American friends that are influencing my vocabulary now.
That's a good thing. We're Americanizing Canadians, one Canadian at a time.
Americanizing you though, right? Superman, Canadian superhero.
Yeah, but there's more Americans. We're going to outnumber you.
There's always been more Americans since the beginning of our histories.
Oh yeah, our North American histories for sure. There's not more Americans because is it China or India? I always forget because both of them have like 1 billion people.
Huge populations, yeah.
Way
from the beginning of our two countries, there's always been way more Americans. I think in Canada's history, there was something like 223 citizens of what is going to be New France, which will become Canada, to like 1,000 Americans already from New England.
Yeah, I never say never, but I don't think Canada will ever surpass the United States in population. Although you have the land for it, but like what? 60% of your land is uninhabitable anyway because it's too cold.
Well, yeah, there's rough terrain, and then the north there's challenges. Yeah. But not challenging is to go back to another singer that we find very entertaining, which is January 17th, 2009. Just Dance is the number one song with Lady Gaga. It's her first single and her first number one song.
Yeah, and I kind of teased this a little bit last week. Number one songs, like, does anybody, like, I remember number one songs in the top 10 and or maybe your top 20 weekly countdown, or the American Top 40 with Casey Kasem if you go back to the 60s and 70s. But like, does anybody pay attention? Like, people will look at like an iTunes chart now and then or something, but people don't have number one songs or number one albums. And it's just with the way streaming is and how everything is calculated, and it's just literally a whole different world from what it was.
Mishmash of different elements, right? Like there's radio, there's streaming, there's actually buying physical albums that I don't know people who actually still do that, but it's a thing.
Yeah, and it's just completely different. I mean, so the Recording Industry Association of America, which is the one who tabulates sales and all that, they consider one album sale. So like in old school, go to the store, buy a CD, an album sale is equal to 10 song downloads or 1,500 song stream.
Right.
So now what I've yet to figure out is, okay, I'm going to use Taylor Swift's Shake It Off from her 1989 album. I'm just going to use that as an example. If I stream Shake It Off 1,500 times, does that count as an album sale, even though I've just listened to the same song 1,500 times?
Curious.
Or does it have to be like, because I know it's not going to be 1,500 streams of every song on the album, but you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, to me,
Album.
that's where you could have the number one album based on a ridiculously popular song.
Right. And it's not actually the most popular album.
Right. Which, and I get that, you know, a strong single will drive album sales, and that was always the case. I don't mean to
Yeah.
discredit it by saying that, but it's just, you know, it's just the way that they're calculated. But they actually do still have a top album sales chart. Billboard still,
Oh, it's a,
when they changed the way that the Billboard 200 album chart in like 2014-15, when they started incorporating streaming and downloads and that sort of thing to affect the tabulation of them, they created a top album sales chart, which literally still goes old school by actual albums.
physical album sold.
Yeah, well, it's always, and this is a bit of a misconception. It's not albums sold, it's albums shipped. So you can technically have a platinum album, which is 1 million units, without actually selling 1 million of them. It just means the record label has made 1 million and has shipped 1 million units. So, you know, there may still be 50,000 sitting in, you know, Walmart shelves or something, but yeah. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's different. It's a whole different world. And I mean, I like streaming, and it's,
oh yeah, I'm like strictly Spotify. I
honestly, oh yeah, actually, I take that back. I can actually tell you the last album I bought, because I bought an album a couple of months ago. But prior to that, I honestly couldn't tell you the last album I bought.
No, I have no recollection of the last one from the record store.
It would have to have been from probably at least 4 or 5 years ago. But I did buy Carrie Underwood's Christmas album last year, because I got an autographed version.
Oh, nice.
There's like a little insert. So I was like, okay. So I saw that she was selling an autographed version, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I'm like, oh, it's, I don't know, $15 or whatever. Like, it was basically the normal price for an album. I'm like,
then it's like a collector's.
I'll go ahead and get that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen her in concert a couple of times, but I've never met her. Goes back to our American Idol discussion from last week.
That's right.
She's easily the most successful American Idol. I would, if we were looking at a music career. I know, like, Jennifer Hudson's won Oscars. That's a different.
That's different
thing. You know, Kelly Clarkson has her own show, but like, if I'm looking from a musical standpoint, it's got to be Carrie Underwood.
Like, they all had to branch out into other areas to be successful to the same degree.
Yeah.
Now, you were saying there might be CDs sitting on shelves. There might be this item also sitting on a few shelves if you have a Winnie the Pooh stuffy, because January 18th, 1881, A.A. Milne's going to be born, and it is known as Winnie the Pooh Day because, of course, he is the writer of Winnie the Pooh. Another Canadian connection, because Winnie the Pooh was actually a bear that was given to the London Zoo from a Canadian soldier, and Milne's little boy called it Winnie the Pooh, and so we get the name. We had this big Canadian commercial back in the day. We had History Minute commercials that I've talked about, and this Winnie the Pooh one is one of the more famous ones.
Okay, so I actually have a Winnie the Pooh fact that's probably going to blow your mind.
I love Winnie the Pooh facts that are going to blow my mind.
So when I say Winnie the Pooh, what do you picture?
And for my mind, I picture like the black bear and the little boy saying, like, I don't know, just Winnie the Pooh from the commercial that I grew up with.
Okay, fair enough. But I think most people, if I say Winnie the Pooh, they think of, you know,
they think of the little yellow bear.
The yellow bear with the red shirt. And so that actually comes from the illustrator of the Winnie the Pooh book, Ernest Howard Shepard, and he drew the Pooh based on his son's teddy bear named Growler.
Oh, interesting. So we have this mesh up.
Right. It's kind of like how Coca-Cola is credited for the modern day appearance of Santa.
Very cool. You always wonder why Winnie the Pooh doesn't have pants. He's got a shirt.
There are theories on this, actually.
Oh,
the theory is that because, you know, he's just pursues his dreams and his honey. He goes about his life. He is self-confident, and he just, you know, his belly sticks out. I don't wear pants. I'm comfortable with who I am. I mean, this is, you could go into like some deep meta next level stuff with all of this. But yeah,
He does look
there are
adorable.
theories out there on this.
He does look adorable. This
I
little tum
found
tum out.
Yeah, I found this to be really interesting. So
Okay.
in 2002, and I don't know that this is still the case, but as of 2002, this was Winnie the Pooh was ranked by Forbes magazine as the most valuable fictional character in the world,
Really, I find that hard to believe.
even
Like,
above
out of
Mickey.
all,
Yeah, even above Mickey Mouse, which was number two.
huh?
It's believed that the bear has earned an income of over 5.9 billion in retail sales.
Wow.
Which again, I would think Mickey Mouse, but then again, Mickey Mouse isn't Disney. I mean, it is Disney, but like
Yeah.
you would go, well, Disney's made more than 5.9 billion, and
What if you look strictly at just Mickey Mouse merchandise?
exactly, and that's the thing. It's like there's tons of Mickey Mouse merchandise, but there's not really a lot of, like, I know there's cartoons and stuff. Okay, do you count Mickey Mouse Club? I don't know that you'd count that, but you know what I mean. It's not like there's,
Well, and that Winnie the Pooh show in the 90s, that was like, everyone watched that.
yeah. I
Cartoon.
mean, to be fair, it's not like there's but you've had a few Pooh movies and stuff in, recent
And Mhm.
last 20, 30 years, the show and that sort of thing.
The Huffalump is a really good one.
And there's a ride at Disney.
All of them. But my girls have an old school Winnie the Pooh bear and a new one. They had like a little rattle one when they were babies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he's
That's
cute. I like his body. You're right. I like his body positivity approach to life. This is good to model for our children.
Moral of the story, don't wear pants.
I mean, during the pandemic, who has anyway, working from home?
Right. Well, it's like the Snickers commercial where the guy comes out and he's not wearing pants. So, I thought we were doing a Zoom thing.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you have been on a Zoom chat or hangout or something, I guarantee you have been doing it with somebody at some point who's not wearing pants.
You've been in the presence of someone pantless.
I mean, you and I have been on some group Zoom hangouts, especially back when everything first started in 2020, where we would all actually like lift up and show the proof that we were wearing pants. They may have been pajamas or onesies or something, but
I will have never not been, like, I've always had pants on during every Zoom meeting I've been in person or participant in.
Well, that's good to know. I appreciate that fact.
We're starting the new year. 2022 is all about honesty.
Honest Trish. There you go.
So, and that's going to lead us to our last story. With January 19th, 1946, we have another birthday, and it's going to be Miss Dolly Parton, right? Who has made, this year already so much better because was it last year or 2020 where she donated the $1 million for Moderna?
I think it would have been 2020. I think she did, wasn't it? So,
and the doctor that she donated to was actually, I guess she had been in a car crash and she became friends with this doctor, and he was a research, professional, one of the universities or one of the, what is it? What do they call them when it's like the teaching hospitals, research and teaching?
Like a research university?
Yeah. Is there like a special name? I don't know. Anyway, he was doing research and she found out and said, hey, here's $1 million. And he says to Forbes magazine that without that money, it would have been 10 times slower to get the Moderna vaccine. So thanks, Dolly.
Yeah, and happy birthday. She turns 76 on the I hate saying that because, as we all know, a couple weeks ago we lost Betty White, and Time magazine had already published Betty White turns 100. So I hope I didn't just jinx Dolly. Is it fair to say that now that Betty White's no longer with us, is Dolly like our new national treasure that we have to protect? Because I think she is. I can't really think of anyone else in her age range or somebody that's in their 80s that has the level of
charisma
to them.
Yeah.
Right. That she does.
Well, and just even remember when Dolly earlier in 2021 got on TikTok and people were losing their, like, oh my God, Dolly's here.
Right. And that was kind of something Betty did. She did the social media thing and really had a whole career resurgence. Like, I know she was in a Super Bowl Snickers commercial back in like 2010 or 2011 or 12 or something like that. And,
Like even my girls, they were like Adriana more so than Julia because she's older. She was like, "Oh, this is sad." And then she's like, "How did she become famous anyway?" And I was like, "Listen here, girl," and like told her all about Betty White's early starts, right?
Yeah.
But she did have that resurgence at like there was that gap between Golden Girl and I don't even know what movie or moment really brought her back out of that Golden Girls. I would have a hard like for me, the big thing that comes to mind is The Proposal, but I know there was stuff before that movie.
Right. That was probably one of her for like her I hate saying like her last run or whatever, but The Proposal I think was one of the things that kind of tipped that off because then she had a new show for a few years after that.
Actually, so funny. I lost a contact lens in the movie theater to that movie. I laughed so hard it like fell out.
That's a tribute right there, Betty. But no, just Betty White, just a national treasure, and I would say Dolly
Now
is
we
the same.
all costs.
Yes, we
will
need
leave
to.
the pandemic.
Yes, that's what we need to do. We need to get through the pandemic with Dolly still intact.
Yes.
And we just going back to 2020 for a minute. Dolly was linked, of course, with Kenny Rogers. They had the big hit Islands in the Stream and everything. We lost Kenny, in 2020. And it was nice that a couple of years before then, Kenny had did like a retirement concert event and they got to sing together one last time. So that was
so nice.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And she's just such a joyful, good-hearted person. And that's the energy and vibe we got to take with us.
Yes. Be more like Betty. Be more like Dolly. And be with us next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Trish.
If you have any questions, concerns, queries, or freakouts, you can reach us at the Time Machine with Trish and Mike at gmail.com. The Time Machine with Trish and Mike on Instagram. Throw that in the Google machine. Find us on YouTube. And you can also go to the Anchor app and leave us a voice message.
Yes. And we'll see you next week here on the Time Machine.